side. Okay.
Okay. So I'm very sorry. We are very sorry for this. We got a little bit of troubleshooting. So hello everyone. I hope you're there. Not easy to see. Welcome to the SHARC session. So my name is Laurence Mabille. I'm from the University of Science in Toulouse, France, and I will be chairing this session with Anne Campon-Thompson and Romain David. Next, Romain, please. So to start with some practical information, please do open the collaborative session notes. You have the link available in the program session page, or maybe we can paste it in the chat. If someone can do that, that would be great. In this Google session notes, if you can include your name in the attendees list, that would be nice. Please turn off your micro and video when you're not talking during the session. Obviously, questions are welcome during the webinar, but use the chat box preferably. Specific moments will be dedicated to verbal discussion. We'll let you know. And session slides and notes will be made available in the SHARC group page on the RDA website. Next. Before going to the agenda, a bit of context. The SHARC interest group was created in 2017 to foster a reflection on a rewarding mechanism for the work required to make data and resources fair and open as much as possible, and to eventually provide some recommendations to various stakeholders. As a first step, the group developed a fair assessment tool for datasets to enable either a self-assessment or an evaluator assessment. And now it is time to go back to the general objectives of the group and to elaborate guidance towards a rewarding path. To make sense and to be effective, this guidance needs to be community-driven and to include at some points all stakeholders. So the sessions help to do that partly. And next, Romain, please. And the session objectives today are thus to discuss with you the current state of such rewarding path and also how to best think recommendations. The session is organized in two parts. One part of quite short presentations with 3 speakers that I will introduce in a minute, and the second part of interactive discussion, including a poll. So next. And so let me introduce first the first speaker, who is Anne. Anne Campon-Thompson is an emeritus research director at CNRS at the University of Toulouse in France. She's also co-chair of the SHARC group and one of the co-chairs of the RDA COVID-19 working group. And she's going to give us some brief insight into the recommendation process of this latter group.
Okay,
so
hello.
Anne, it's yours.
Thank you. I'm going to try to share. So
good luck.
Hoping it works.
So normally you have the right now.
Yes, I think that it works. It should work. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
That works.
Okay, good. So what I want to do in some minutes is just to give some insights from the another RDA group, the RDA COVID-19 working group, who issued some guidelines and recommendations. So I have two aims, to comment a bit on the production of recommendations. Oh, there is a big echo. I don't know why. Okay, thank you. The production of recommendations, because that's the work we are going to do in the SHARC group. And then what was done within this working group on COVID-19 for the recognition of that work. So I will first describe a bit the group and what we did, and then I will talk about this, how we discussed about the recognition of the contributions. So the RDA working group on COVID-19 was a fast track creation in 2020. So it went faster than for usual RDA groups. And within a week, there was 600 RDA members or new RDA members who volunteered to work under that hat of COVID-19. And in the end, we had 165, a bit more, contributors, active contributors to the document provided. So this gives you an idea about the size of that group and the speed, because this was the so there were different topics, of course, and we had to work under the RDA guiding principles, which are just reminded here: openness, community-driven harmonization, and so on. And the very intense group meetings. Here are just the chairs and co-chairs of that group, and we had so many different type of data and issues to consider that we split the group in working groups or sub-working groups on yes.
Désolée, mais vous êtes toujours. You're on the first slide. Is that normal?
Oh no, it's not normal because I'm just well, I am on these slides now. Can you see another slide? Okay, so what I did was this, which was what I was going to talk about. Then something about the fast track working group. And here were the, how do I do that? The different chairs, co-chairs of the working group from very different places in the world. And finally, what I was saying was that we did split the work in 4 different main chapters on clinical data, omics data, epidemiology data, and social science data. And we had transversal sub-working groups on community participation, indigenous data guidelines, research software, and legal and ethical consideration. So this was a complex organization, and that might be of interest for us if we have different aspects in the recommendation we want to make, to split the work in different places. What was produced in that group was quite a long document, 145 page, and other things like an executive summary, which was very useful, supporting outputs like a bibliography as a Zotero library, for example, and then there were other outputs like different subgroups had produced, for example, epidemiology document, different articles were produced at the same time or afterwards, and infographics and visualization tools. And that was very important. And I think we can take some messages for that. No one will generally need to explore the full document. That's true for that document, that might be true for what we will produce in our group. And the question is how to quickly find what you need. So the work of the visualization group was very important. It has produced tools like an infographics to explore the document and a wizard. So now I come to the part on the recognition, how to recognize the contribution of people. And this was discussed. Oh, sorry, I went too fast. This was discussed in the group. I told you there were several hundreds people in this group, and it was a preoccupation how to recognize the work done, because it was very intense, several meetings a week for nearly everybody. And the chairs had an incredible number of groups as well as the moderators. So we discussed that, and we had a policy for the group productions. naming the people for the different roles, the moderators who really worked quite a lot, the chairs and so on. Then who actively contributed to the in alphabetical order. We with a name or kit number, and we discussed a more fine or subtle granularity of recognition of this kind and this kind of contribution. And finally, we decided no, because it was very complicated and finally counterproductive. We had this list of contributors to the document is different and shorter than the list of all the group members on the RDA site, because some of them did not really contribute to the document itself. They followed the work and that's it. This list also includes those who substantially contributed to the document through comments, because of course we opened the document for comments. So that's something which was also taken into account. And for the articles and all the kind of outputs, there was no one rule for all kinds of documents. It was depending on the kind of articles, journals, and so on. But usually the most common rule was that authors were in alphabetical order. They had to be contributed and their contribution was described, except for the first author, who was usually the main contributor. And then we tried to have some other recognition for this work by interviews of some key people which were then accessible publicly, and also participation to sessions about the document in various conferences where they could be seen and contributing directly. So the lesson learned, and I finish with that, on the production of recommendation, I would like to underline the importance of the library of references attached to the document as an output in itself that can be complemented then without changing the recommendations, for example. The importance of differentiating guidelines and recommendations and the target for those different kinds of elements. We experienced that the gathering of standards and already used systems in a unique document was what was important, as well as the usability of the document, much more than the originality of the recommendation themselves. And then on the recognition of the work, the second aim of this short presentation, I think it's noticeable that this has been actually discussed within this group, and so it's a common preoccupation. We decided for an explicit and simple rule, clearly described, without too much granularity. There were discussions about it. Of course, the fact that the documents produced have a DOI is important to link it to other productions. And then the dissemination strategy, it doesn't stop. Recommendations have been adopted, but I think this dissemination is really part of the work and our group should think of it. That's it for me. Thank you very much for your attention. And I will stop sharing, hopefully. Yes. So now I think that others can share.
Yes, I guess it's
Hugo, you want I share my screen?
yes, Roman, I think maybe it's better if you share the slide and I will tell you next.
Okay.
If you have the patience to do it. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
So, do you see my screen?
Yes, I see it.
Okay, so
I will tell you when to change slide. Thanks. So good morning.
Let me, sorry. Hugo, I'm back. Let me introduce you first. we will have some, I think we will keep some time for the questions after the 3 presentations. That will be easier. So Ugo holds a PhD, and Ugo Moschini, so thank you very much for your participation. Ugo holds a PhD in computer science, and he works in the data analysis office at the Italian Institute of Technology in Genova. He analyzes the research performance of the institute, getting recently interested in research data management and open science practices. So Ugo will tell us about data sharing and evaluation in his institute. Thanks very much, Ugo, for sharing your experience. It's all yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Lawrence, for this opportunity. This is actually my first RDA meeting, so I'm very happy, and I want to see how everything goes. And so in my work, in my talk, sorry, I'm going to discuss what we did in the activities of the data analysis and research data management office at our institute. And Valentina Pasquale, who is the RDM specialist at our institute, is also present at the discussion. So you might want to talk also with her later when we do the breakout session. Next, please. So when we introduced a more structured evaluation at our institute, we chose to fulfill 2 important aspects that were maintaining, so first of all, raising awareness of the importance of organizing the research outputs in general. That at the time it was mostly research papers, research publication. And also what we try to always to do is to be transparent. So to let the researcher know in every moment which were the metrics, which were the aspects that were considered for along in our evaluation processes. So we found out very soon that it was good to have policies, to have things written in text, but it was also very important to provide tools that they could monitor themselves what the institute is knowing about them. Next, please. Next slide. Thanks. Okay. So currently, the evaluation we performed up to now, it's based on stuff. So, well, say from information from the Human Resources Department. The core is consists of publications and the bibliometrics attached to them. Then we have we consider the budget received by the institute and the budget won by the researcher and patent applications. So what we developed, you can go to the next slide if you can. It's actually a tool that helps us in monitoring all that. And we think that the challenges we faced when we introduced this tool will be the same that will happen now that we have data sharing in the evaluation. First of all, you have to convince research staff to use, they would say, yet another tool. So they have to maintain information on another system. And what we did is that the researchers will feel that the tool was useful for them, so they could export the information in formats they could reuse externally, and responsible for the information that was there. And that helped to build the trust, because the evaluation was not happening out of the blue about some indicators they didn't know about, but this system that we call Scintilla, and check and add or correct the information there. So Scintilla is a current research information system in the sense that we keep the metadata of publications, but is also integrated, interoperate with our institutional systems. So to receive the information I told you previously about budget, human resources, and so on. Next, please. Okay, here we can go fast. It's just to show you what is the tool. The researcher is presented with the charts, plots, indicators. On the left, you might not read it, but you see patent information, accomplishments, awards. It's a unique point where all the information is collected from many systems. Next. Okay, then in the last year, we started our long journey to add data sharing, first of all, as a proper data sharing as a research practice in our institute. And secondly, if it's possible, to add it as a part of the evaluation processes. We selected a tool, Dataverse. I think many of you know about it. And we are now in the way of rolling it out for all the researchers at our institute. That, just to give some number, is around 700 researchers, 7/1000. Yeah, you can go on. Thanks. And we found the tool suitable for us. And we found out that also asking the researchers what they thought about it. We ran a pilot project involving the 10% of our research groups. We got detailed feedback from them, so we saw where there was room to improvement, what are the needs. And at the same time, we made other comparisons with other tools. Because the thing is, something to evaluate them, it must be, as it was for the publications, also something useful for them. Next, please. So the killing features for us were the fact that it's open source, so it can be customized to fit our needs, to interoperate with the internal systems we already have in place. And the Dataverse itself and the community around Dataverse is very committed to the FAIR principles. And it's getting more and more used every year. Now there are 68 installations, at least I checked yesterday, in the world. So it's becoming largely used. Can be adapted to our system, I guess also to other systems. And also it has metadata support that is quite effective. You can configure different metadata according to the field, to the area of expertise of a researcher, so of the data sets the researcher produces. That could be a good way to have some data on which to run proper metrics, maybe metrics related to the quality of metadata, and that are really linked to the discipline itself, and not some metrics that could be too generic. Next, please. And as we did previously, also this time we started by raising awareness. So we did strong campaigning for proper research data management, both among researcher and among the administrative manager, let's say, to make them understand the importance of that. At the same time, we are running seminars about research data management, and we invite researchers from our institute or from external institutes to tell their success stories about occasions in which their research benefited from sharing data properly. And we built and brought many intranet pages with instructions about open access to publications, open access to data and research data. So we didn't deal, so we didn't state anything yet about evaluation, because as I said, we are just at the beginning, but so far we focused on what are the benefits for research. Next, please. Okay, this was just an example of the intranet pages. I think you can skip fast. Okay, so what we plan to do next is what we call the long road to evaluating research. Data sharing is, so we will have these two tools in place, the CRIS Scintilla and Dataverse. The plan is to make them communicate. We think that in this way, there is a visible, a tangible connection from research data to publications. We can imagine a future in which researchers can tell other researchers which publications made use of certain data sets created by them. It can give us an idea of how much a data set is shared different research groups that can be also geographically distant, but still belonging to our institute. And to really see the data set as in the same place where researchers are used to see the research output can help the process of considering them part of the evaluation. Next. So what we need to understand now, it was one of the main reasons why I was happy to join this group in particular, is that we need to understand the available metrics for measuring data sharing. Just on top of my mind, I was listing, I don't know, the simple downloads or number of times a dataset is shared. I read about ways of possibly measure the quality of data management plans, especially if they are machine readable, or measuring the level of verification. One of the reasons why we chose Dataverse again is that he's able to integrate the Make Data Count project, let's say, so to collect and it's even simple, but at least is a starting point. And of course, the same goes for biometrics. The same will go for research dataset, in the sense that we need both quantitative and qualitative points of view when we evaluate, when we give a score, when we give an evaluation. I guess only a pure, I mean, there will not be a magic number telling how good is someone is sharing. It will be a mix of indicators. Next. So I will conclude saying, so the main message I wanted to give in this talk were about the importance of having an actual tools that can enable evaluation. And it's really important to be transparent, to build trust, to give something back that is useful to the researchers, and listen to the feedback, because everybody is an expert of their own work. So it's usually useful feedback, the one you get from other communities. And the logic conclusion after these 2 points is that evaluation and rewarding should be the last step of a long process that starts with awareness and providing tools and stuff like that. And what I think is a situation is that the process is long, and even if we cannot find the strong, proper metrics, impartial and perfect. Anyway, the benefits that all this process will bring are manifold. At the end, you change the mind of people, so you manage to share research data that will be reused, and the community can advance from that. And my talk is finished. I thank you, Roman, a lot for his patience.
Thank you, Hugo.
Welcome.
So I can see there is a question for you, so maybe I will address it now because not to lose it. Michelle is asking, is Scientilla only used at your institute or more widely in Italy?
So far, at our institute. It's open source, so it is on GitHub. You can download, try. We're in contact with some university consortium in Spain. A couple of they were interested in a research manager like that, but then I don't remember what happened, but they didn't follow up on that. So, but so far it's actually it's our institute and possibly another University of Pisa. They were interested. Now I don't know exactly if they will install it or not, but I received some feedback.
Okay, and there is a comment from Jan, but maybe Jan, you can unmute and tell it. Yeah.
Sure. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, Eurocris is a that specializes in current research information systems, and we actually can confirm that the driver for taking the workload in reporting away from the researchers and putting it in a specialized system is a very strong one, which really helps researchers concentrate on doing science. So just a comment.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions? Otherwise, we will move to our next speaker, Fiona Murphy. Fiona, you are the co-founder of the More Brains Cooperative, a consultancy which specializes in open research projects. With a background in literature and over 20 years of publishing experience, Fiona is also vice chair of the Dryad board, an editorial board member of Data Science Journal, book reviews editor of the European Association of Science Editors magazine, and on the steering committee for the 4th 11th Scholarly Communication Institute. And Fiona is going to tell us more about the knowledge exchange openness profile. Thank you, Fiona, very much.
Thank you. Here's check, Lawrence. Am I sharing okay?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. So, so thank you to Lawrence and thank you to the organisers of this session for giving me an opportunity to present on behalf of Knowledge Exchange. I worked with Phil Jones, who many of you will also know, and also with many others to build a reference framework. And this was for exposing contributions to open research in general. So not just data, not just software, but any contributions that you might want to count, want to be able to credit people for. It's called the Openness Profile. We just published a report about 3 weeks ago. So this is the first opportunity we've had to present that report, our findings. And so we're very delighted to be able to share it, and I'm very interested to get some feedback from you. I also, before I forget, I've noticed that there are several people actually in this room who did contribute to this project. So thank you very much. You know who you are. Right, so who or what is Knowledge Exchange? Just a little bit of background for those who may not know. You can see it's a group of 6 European research organisations. So it's in the UK, Denmark, Finland, France, Netherlands. Is that 6? Germany, did I say Germany? Basically, there they are. They deliver if you like, sort of policies around research. They support research, universities, other organisations in their specific countries. They're interested in evaluation, assessment, e-infrastructures, that kind of thing. And as Knowledge Exchange, so it's basically the representatives from each of those organisations. They work together, if you like, and they may pool research resources to examine questions of particular interest. They try to align best practices and other initiatives. And for the last
4 or 5 years, they've been very interested in open scholarship. So recently they've been looking at, if you like, the economics of how open scholarship works, and that includes things like businesses and organisations that support open scholarship, but also how there's a need for collective action, if you like, for different stakeholders to come together, to work together, and also with the project that I'm just to mention now, the Openness Profile, which is a tool and a framework for evaluating research contributions. So just to give you an outline of how this talk's going to go. First of all, a little bit about, why is an openness profile needed? What might it look like? And then to unpack a bit what the framework would be, and how you could work towards, collecting, different incentives for open scholarship, and then what we need to do, what needs to happen to make that a reality. So first, why is an openness profile needed? What would it look like? So thinking about it, what is a research contribution? Traditionally, it's a journal article that's published in a journal. It has authors who are the people who contributed to it, usually frontline researchers, and it accrues value through citations and other mentions and so forth. But what we understand, particularly I think groups like this, is that research outputs are much more varied than that. There are data structures, there's coding, there's reports, there's sort of grey literature. They can have implications outside research, such as with government policy or tech transfer. And they're also often produced by people who are adjacent to the researchers themselves. It could be data managers, it could be engineers, or software engineers as well. So basically, there's this whole group of outputs and people who are sitting outside the generally used measures and accreditation systems for research. And this is really difficult when you're wanting to encourage openness, because, again, as we all are aware, open scholarship depends on sharing early and often, if you like, sharing as early as possible in the process, sharing a range of outputs, and then also, ultimately, it hopes that, if you like, the system or the discipline or research generally will benefit, and it may not necessarily be a specific person or specific researcher who gleans all the personal benefit from their own work. So there are a lot of barriers in the way that things currently work, which I think, again, we've gone over. There are technological ones, there are skills issues with people not necessarily knowing how to organise, manage their outputs. And there's also a huge lack of incentive to do this, because basically in the current system, if everybody else does share, but I don't share, then actually I'm the one with the advantage. So it's the non-sharers, the uncooperatives, if you like, who potentially benefit from the current system. So knowledge exchange recognised that not only do you need to articulate what the open research contributions would be, but you have to also attack the incentives issues. And why is this important? And again, the state of open scholarship depends on sharing. And there are a lot of well-known benefits for open scholarship around stronger links between sort of outputs, data, provenance, reproducibility. But there's also, if you like, an inherent benefit to the system itself. If you like, the connectivity could potentially make things fairer if basically you can prove, if you can show what your contribution to something actually is. It could help with your future career prospects. We can also, if you like, better understand the overall system and what our place within it actually is, how we interact with it. We can ask these sorts of questions of what's going on. And then we can adjust what we do accordingly, and start thinking about how to fill in what were previously unknown gaps. So what would the openness profile look like? Here's a wireframe, a mock-up of how we think it would behave. It would be embedded in evaluation events, usually amongst research institutions. So we're thinking promotions, recruitment, and perhaps institutional level or national level evaluations as well. So that would be events conducted by, say, institutions or by funders, and it would be to enable the surfacing, if you like, the recognition, and then hopefully apply an award for open scholarship activities. So, I mean, at the moment, many policies, funder ones, national ones, do have a strong open push, if you like, or remit, but there's very little ability to actually enact that or operationalize that in a meaningful way. So so what we were saying is that you would need to associate these contributions with an ORCID, which increasingly many researchers or research support workers actually have. I mean, I'm not a frontline researcher. I have an ORCID, which I do try to keep updated, for instance. And we also thought a lot about a potential group profile functionality, which given particularly that open scholarship often is a joint or shared enterprise, could be something that would be supportive, would be sort of interesting and to use. We thought that possibly the RAID, the ARDC project identifier, might be a way of going forward with that, but we're still exploring it. So I just wanted to show you a bit more detail. You can see it depends on sort of like key integrations with existing PID systems. It's really important that it is able to rely on, and in particular for updates on the existing, cross-ref, perhaps grant IDs, organizational IDs, which might be RAWs, and DOIs and ORCID, because basically if this is only going to work if it can, if anything, reduce administrative burden, I think, for researchers. I mean, we talked to PID providers about how to automate information exchange and pushes and notifications, and how you could manage that with respect to data privacy and other protections. And again, it feels that the idea of being able to distribute relationship information between outputs automatically, and then just get people to agree to them or validate them, would be the way forward in a practical sense. But what exactly are we seeking to capture? So what's the actual framework look like? So to take a step back for a moment, just to give you a sense of how hard we worked to get a good idea about what was needed. So Phil and I have been working with the Knowledge Exchange team, and I can't believe it, but it's for the best part of 2 years. We set up the project about March, April 2019, and we started off with 20 semi-structured interviews. So it was with a range of stakeholders, from frontline researchers, different times in their career, people who supported research evaluation events, with funders, publishers, data repository managers, and then we wrote a preliminary report called Defining the Concept. And we were kind of synthesizing, pulling together our thoughts for a plenary meeting, which was then COVID interrupted. So that's partly why our project did actually end up stretching into 2021. We had to scrap our in-person workshop plan, and we instead moved online, which actually worked pretty well, considering what we sort of were trying to convey, and it had some really good stakeholder help as well. It wasn't just Phil and me spouting off. So that was in July of last year, and then we followed that up with 3 sort of focus group sessions, and that was to start pulling together sort of use cases, but also to identify the points, what's already going on, who's talking to who, where's their progress, what's needed to build on that progress. And so let's think. So basically, yeah, what kind of governance is required? You know, what are the communities that are already active? And then we finally pulled that all together over the autumn. And we then wrote and we published our final report, which I'm going to give you a link to at the end of this, just about 3 weeks ago. So we actually, as I will reveal, we do have some next steps that I'm interested in hearing from you about. So yeah, so get a sense, because I think we did feel that you know, communities, a range of stakeholders, all of these you know, participants were really, really important. So we tried to have both sort of general cross conversations and also drill down into particular functionalities and priorities to get a sense of what people needed to be able to help and work with us. We had predominantly worked with people who were within the knowledge exchange countries for obvious reasons, but we did move beyond that. We certainly had people from sort of Portugal, Australia, the US, who were all really helpful. Some of them were really great and spoke to us at terrible times of the day. We had almost 80 people, or sorry, more than 80 people involved overall. And also we were able to make a virtue of necessity where we hadn't been able to speak to people in person or meet them. We actually ended up using a lot of online virtual tools. We did polls, we looked at chat, we had a virtual whiteboard, and I think that meant that we got different sorts of outputs from different sorts of people, some of whom may have been more reticent perhaps to talk to us if it had been in a big loud room. So that was really helpful. So we built up three use case propositions, and again, you don't need to try and see, you know, that's a lot of that's really, really small. I've got it on a big monitor and I can't see them properly here, but they are all in the report, and they're discussed and broken out in greater detail. What we thought about was that the institutions, so that would be predominantly universities, have a broad range of potential openness profile users. It could be the HR department for recruitment, research officers thinking about strategic reviews, the researchers themselves building up their appraisals or promotion requests. And it could also actually, which we decided was out of scope, have some uses for people who are not necessarily attached directly to the university, perhaps journalists, for instance. Funders are, if you like, a smaller and tighter group. We felt that there was, there was a functional, technical group of people who would find the automation helpful in being able to answer questions that were asked of them by strategic people, and that the strategists themselves, the people trying to work out how best to craft their research requests, how to evaluate the outputs of performance of the awards that they've been given. Also with the funders, we flagged up the fact that a big tranche of their potential users would be peer reviewers or other decision-making bodies who are made up of people outside the funder organisation itself. So that would be key, usually senior researchers. And as such, there would need to be a really good user interface, user experience, something that might be easily downloadable. And then with the national research organisations themselves, we felt that there was, hopefully there was already an interest in producing the openness profile, because it was this group that had actually commissioned us to do the work. But they very quickly grasped, I think, the inherent power of being able to do evaluations, if you like, without a massive interruption to the normal sort of workflow for people. For instance, in the UK, we've just had our sort of 5-6 year research evaluation event, and something like that could be made much less of an ordeal for everyone if we had these kind of ongoing updates which are largely automated and which give people, if you like, an opportunity to enrich stories or pull out impact rather than just scramble to get all that information out and down. So here we are. So this is our if you like, schematic output for what's required. It's a reference model, you can hopefully see, and I wanted to just flag up the fact that I first came across this concept at the RDA in the data publishing workflows working group when we developed a reference model for data publishing. I think that they're really powerful, and they give us an opportunity, if you like, to know what we're talking about, and to jointly work to find where are the gaps and things, to test them and see if our particular domain or our particular infrastructure or group have interactions with this or understandings of this or a potential contribution to make. So I think that we just have to have a quick look at that. I mean, we've got, for instance, taxonomies. We've got most of this is sitting in the assessment and evaluation space, but you see there's this critical stakeholders column sitting alongside it. And I think, again, this is where the power comes from. It's from communities who, despite all the difficulties in doing open research, are still trying to do it, and they're developing best practices, and people are managing to become proficient at it. And also then there's the policymakers, people who are able to adjust policy and actually make decisions based on the evidence as that starts to emerge. So what needs to happen? What are our recommendations? This is the last few slides. It's full of important information though, so I need you to listen. One of our key remits or considerations throughout was not to reinvent anything that was already existed, people who already had adopted, and any sort of momentum. So we made sure that we were talking to people at all points, anyone who'd made progress, that we could find anybody who had something to say that we could help amplify. So the taxonomies that we did consider, and which would presumably be included and talked to if as we go into the next steps, include some of these, many of which have a direct link again with the RDA. And again, it's the idea that there are already communities who are already testing and putting things into place, and what we'd want to be able to do is benefit from that and amplify it for the openness profile. And this is actually a screenshot from a Miro board of another project that I'm involved with, just thinking about workflows. I think a big part of what we thought is that there's a lot of, it's like, individual pieces, things happening, there'd be like ORCIDs here and the data citations there, and we're not necessarily thinking about how one moves from the other, which actually is what's key in terms of practicing research and being able to harvest information about the outputs and impact. So this is as I say, a screenshot from the JISC National PID Strategy project, and I would commend my colleagues Josh Brown and Chris Brown, no relation to each other, who will be talking about this project this time tomorrow in the PIDs of the World Unite interest group meeting. So I just wanted to give you a sense, if you like, of how we felt we needed to join things up and get a sense of what is the impact for people as these things happen. What's the information that can be collected, and where could it go? Where could it support greater automation and better understanding? And I think, again, what's really important is this is massively a joint effort, and we're immensely grateful for everyone who took time to talk to us and provide advice, and hopefully won't mind when we go back to them for the next stage. And again, some of you I think might be here. I'm just on the almost last slides, Lance. So our main recommendations are, there's 3 overarching ones. Stakeholder Summit, which is in the works, it's organised. We need a working group to oversee, think about governance and direction, and we need a sponsor. So someone like a funder or a national research organisation that would be able to take this work forward. We also thought about the stakeholders who need to be involved and the kinds of things they would need to be considering. So a lot of it's around technical and investment, understanding your infrastructures, building research management capacities in institutions, and thinking about the connections between things, between people and between other stakeholders within the system. So, as I say, there's a summit. This is a call to anybody who's interested, wants to hear more, wants to be involved. Please, get in touch either with me or with these contacts. You've got Josephine Yodling or Baz Corduenada, who are very interested to hear what your thoughts are, and what you want to pick this up with them. And that's it. That's the DOI for the report. That's our logo. And thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Fiona. It's a very promising way to push open science practices. Would you mind putting the link to the report in the Google Doc, the second note?
I certainly will.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's already in the chat. I've seen it. So, does anyone have any questions to Fiona? Any comments to Fiona or to Ugo and Anne as well?
Yes, I would like to ask more details about the AID. How is it managed the same way than ORCIDs?
All right. The RAID, the project identifier, which could potentially be used as a group identifier. Yeah. So it's being developed by the Australian Research Data Commons. That's people like Natasha Simons, Adrian Burton, and yeah, I mean it's basically research activities. So usually they think of it as a project, but I guess that there's also the understanding that a project contains people as well as money and outputs and activities. So the RAID is potentially something that you could use to represent the openness activities of, say, a journal or a research group or a department or an institution. And that's I think at very early stages. Thank you for the person who's put that in the chat. But it's I think the idea is that RAID should certainly be involved in any further developments that carry on, and they were very kind of active, very helpful in helping us define the openness profile.
Thanks, Fiona. Any other questions or comments? I don't see any in the chat. Oh, Ugo, we've lost Ugo. Hope he will come back. Otherwise, we will move to the second part of the session. Then, Romain, can you bring back my my slides easily?
Yeah, I'm lost in my all my.
Okay, because there that would be
just 1 minute.
Yeah.
So you want the session, the SHARC session slide, or you want the
my PowerPoint? Yes, the SHARC session slide. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And
so,
we're gonna ask questions to you. If you don't have for us, that's okay. We have a poll. So the objective of the second part of this session is to foster a collective discussion, to identify some initiatives or tools that help rewarding either individuals or practices implementing sharing activities, or to identify some criteria for prioritization of such actions. So the idea there is that you connect to VoxVote, so either on your mobile or on your computer. The link is in the slide. You can see the PIN number as well. I can maybe try to paste it in the chat. Yes. So you're invited to connect to this link, and Romain, so you're in charge with with the questions, as I cannot share my screen.
I will stop sharing the slide and going sharing.
Yes, you go to the questionnaire. Yes. So it gives some time to people to connect during that time.
Yeah. That's here.
Just let us know if there is a problem to connect to the poll on your side.
So, do you see the poll?
Yes, I can see the first question.
Okay.
It works. Okay, so hopefully people has joined. Yes.
So we have actually 28 answers. I let you comment.
Yes, well, we'll wait a little bit for more participation. I don't know how many we are actually in this session.
In this session, in the Google slides, not Google slide, in the notes, there were 45 persons connected.
Yes, I think it's around 50. I saw 50 expected attended. Okay, so, well, a lot of Europe, obviously, because of the time slot, I guess, but also from USA, very courageous people. UK.
Can I go
Not
to
in
the
Europe.
next question?
Yes, you can go to the next question.
So start.
Your job area, your role. You have a few suggestions. And Romain, you can update several times.
Yes,
yeah, okay.
I do that regularly.
Good. So 33% researchers. More data managers right now. Quite a lot of librarian, publisher, founder, policymaker. Okay. I think it doesn't move anymore too much. So a bit more of researchers and data managers. Then, okay, librarian.
Next one?
Yes, next one. And on the next one, we'll stay, on the following ones, we'll stay a little bit longer because it is a bit more complex to answer. So are you aware of any initiatives, tools enabling to assess quantitatively or qualitatively open science practices? Just describe briefly, eventually the name and the aim of the initiative or tool. So we'll leave you a few minutes. Also, it's not very easy to analyze from a word cloud because it's a bit of a mixture of everything. So Altmetrics, yeah. Center for Open Science Badges. Oh, DORA, European Science Monitor. Quite a lot of interesting things. I don't see end of it. Yeah, some initiatives that are quite known in the RDA sphere. I don't know about the Center for Open Science Badges. Can someone say something about that?
Yeah, this is Mark. The Center of Open Science has badges for open data, open materials, things like that. And there's criteria for how you meet them, and then you get a badge that you put on your artifact, and it's both human and machine readable.
Go. Very interesting.
The Center of Open Science has published the transparency and openness principles, which are okay.
Good. Thank you, Mark. I can say the credit initiative is still is still running. Can someone say something about that? I was wondering if it was still very active or not. But
yeah, it's definitely active. I think NISO is taking it over from CASRE, the National Institute of Standards, National Institute of Standards Organization, something like that. And lots of journals have adopted it, and I think it's getting even more adoption.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, maybe we should move to the following question and go back to the discussion afterwards, because it's interesting to have the whole view as well. So the next question is, are you aware of any initiative tools enabling to credit or valorize data sets these times that are fair, such as awards or reuse awards or things like that? So we'll leave you a few minutes. But I can see you are very reactive. I do not expect so many answers.
There are some comments in the chat.
Yes, a link.
So sorry, I just activated the question.
Okay.
So, no, it's working. We have 5 answers.
You're very welcome to add any information in the Google Doc, the session notes, because obviously we have to go a little bit fast on the questionnaire. It's also to stimulate the discussion, but we are very keen to have your ideas on the session notes, please. Thanks.
I think that we are in time for the questionnaire now.
Okay. So, no, okay. Citation, yeah, sure. Counts of reuse, calls, financing reuse of only reuse. Yeah. Easy dab. So that's one I don't know. If someone wants to say something about it, I'm sorry I cannot ask for it to everyone, but easy dab. You can express yourself. Fair aware also. If someone wants to.
EasyDAP means Earth System Data Branding.
Okay.
And it's coming in new branding for Earth System Data, for fair and open Earth System Data. It's just in development, and I have a poster about it.
Great. Okay. And your name is? Oh, I miss it. Okay.
So do not hesitate to put the link to the poster in the notes
or in the chat. Is fair aware? What is fair aware? Can someone say something about that? PubMed, yes. Rewarding. Okay, I don't have the full screen, so it's not easy for me to see. Okay, maybe we could move to the next question.
So it's running.
It's running. Are you aware of any initiative tools introducing verification and sharing practices in science training? We know it's more and more the case, but still not everywhere, and not in every community.
Yeah, and this questionnaire will help to build a landscape of all these components, and we will share the result with everybody.
Yeah, sure.
So if
We'll do something of it.
If you don't know one, just say no. It's interesting to know that people are not aware about that, and there is a need.
Is it a mentioning clearinghouse? Yes. How to fair for sure. Good. Yeah. So CoData, ESIP, Force 11, the How to Fair initiative, and in some universities, I guess. Very good. Does someone want to say something about it? A lot going on in the Netherlands, yes. Do not hesitate to detail a bit more if you wish, now or afterwards in the session notes. And then we'll do a synthesis of it and send it back to you. Any comment on that? Specifically training in the science training programs? Okay. Maybe we can move to the next ones. Romain, I don't know if you capture everyone there. It's difficult to see for me.
So
Okay. So do you have any other rewarding initiative tool or path in mind that was not covered in the previous 3 questions? You're welcome to write it there. Luc, we organize webinars for researchers in e-learning. Very interesting. Where? A link maybe, Luc? A program or? No.
all the other questions are
Okay, so
empty.
Good to know.
Okay, so annual price in university.
Okay. In which university? I think we would to reward fairness, but researchers just want to be excited. Some.
Okay, I propose to move forward for the next question.
Okay, so I think the next one is about prioritization. Which criteria should be considered for prioritizing such rewarding actions, according to you? So there are 3 proposed, and the next question is an open one. Number of people concerned, ease of implementation, or action effectiveness. Because we will need to know that at one point.
I've just started the question, sorry.
Okay. I think it's a ranked question. Yeah. Okay. Right. Obviously, every three of them are to be considered, but okay. If prioritizing, then the last one maybe is a little bit more interesting. Okay. I think it doesn't move too much. Maybe we should go to the next one, which is, do you have any other criteria to propose? Which other criteria should be considered for prioritization?
Okay.
According to you.
Question start.
Right. Thanks, Romain. Which one researchers find most compelling will change behavior? Reliability. Right. Anne, any comment on this? Have we lost Anne too?
No, I'm here, but my microphone was closed. I'm just looking at all these answers.
Criteria should be accompanied by an assessment of access to resources and support. Sure. Effect on career. Efficiency.
Yeah, that's part of efficiency, I guess.
Yes.
Yes, but effect on career can have more importance for people that are not in permanent positions.
Sure. Linked to research integrity. Oh gosh. Yeah. A lot of things to
consider.
Consider.
But I think that the comment on research integrity is important because it's very easy to be on a slippery slope because you try to reach what has a good effect on your career without necessarily taking into account all the integrity aspects. So anything that make things open is a help for that.
Yeah, and also the severity of the consequences or safety for not doing it. This is very true. Not easy to assess, I guess, but very true.
Okay.
Okay. So I think it's done for the poll. Do you have any general comment, or we can discuss verbally a little bit more about this questionnaire if you have other things to express. The floor is yours. You can unmute and tell us. And Romain, in the meantime, if you could go back to my slides.
Okay.
Because we have I think it's almost the end of the session, and I need to go back to the last question, which is on the slide. I do not see comments.
If I can add something, I think that we think here about evaluation or systems. And what is very effective for many things, and I'm thinking of the research integrity aspect too, is being considered in and as a part of a community, or being kicked off in a way, in fact, if not in administrative terms, because you are not honest in your research, so nobody wants to really collaborate with you. If you don't share, that could have the same kind of things. It's a question of culture. if the culture of sharing is in the culture of research in general, in the training, those who do not, in a way, bear this culture are in a way putting themselves out. That's just a dream for the moment, not a dream, maybe a nightmare, I don't know, are putting themselves out of the current not necessarily written rules of a community. So the fact of educating and making this openness sort of basic culture will have effect by itself in the future, even without a system for that. That's what I think. At least we can discuss it.
We just have 1 minute to wrap up
Well,
before the end.
well, last question, and you're invited to input in the session notes directly. What is the most urgent or obvious next step, according to you, to boost those rewarding paths? So you're welcome to do that now or later. And then the last slide is the conclusion. So again, any input from you at any moment by mail or on the session notes are very welcome. We'll do a synthesis of it and get back to you. If you wish to participate on the recommendations preparations as part of this SHARC group, please let us know.
Again.
Okay, please let us know, and we'll organize a TC in May with the one who wants to participate. And thank you very much for your participation, especially to the speakers.
Thank you, Lawrence. I managed to reconnect now. There was a bug in the time system.
I hoped you had come back. Yeah, I was not too sure because we cannot see who is there. So yeah.
I was actually debugging with the help desk between computer scientists like me. They had an issue with the time settings, so I was locked out from every session.
Well, I'm sorry for that, but yeah, we can see there has been a little bit of technical issues, but well, we've had some nice talks and ideas, so we try to make something interesting of it and get back to you.
Okay, great. I will watch the recording.
Yes,
and thank you, Laurence, for all your work in preparing the session and doing, and Romain also doing everything to make it live.
Thanks to Romain. Thanks a lot to Romain. And thank you to the speakers, Hugo, Fiona, and thanks you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Lawrence.
See you on the mail.
Goodbye.
Ciao.